Did you hear that a couple of weeks ago, the Aurora Australis was visible in many parts of Australia? This is a super rare event. I took this picture 2 weeks ago on Saturday night. The day before that, my friend had told me there would be a big geomagnetic storm, so I went to the beach as soon as the sun set. I knew the storm had become intense a few hours earlier, so there was a good chance of seeing it as soon as it got dark. And look, I got lucky and took this picture. This was the biggest such event I can remember. The last one was more than 20 years earlier. None of the Australians I know can ever remember seeing the Southern Lights before.
So when we talk about the past, we often use these words ago, earlier, and before. But I noticed that it's very easy to make mistakes with them. So I thought it might be useful to look at some of the ways to use these words correctly. Firstly, ago. We always use this with a period of time. For example, 2 hours. 6 weeks, 3 days. Here are some examples. I started work 6 hours ago. The festival was 3 days ago. 5 years ago, I moved to London. And we always use ago when an event happened relative to now. So if I say the festival was 3 days ago, that always means 3 days before now. So if I'm telling a story about the past and I say, last Friday I went to hospital, 3 days ago I started getting stomach pains. Does this mean 3 days before last Friday? No, it means 3 days before today. If you want to say 3 days before last Friday, we can't use ago. We have to use earlier or before. For example, last Friday I went to hospital. 3 days before that, I started getting stomach pains. Or 2 days earlier, I started getting stomach pains. Again, ago means before now. For any other times, and when we're talking about times in the past, we can use before or earlier. So how are they different? Earlier, like ago, is used with a period of time. My boss asked me for the report, but a week earlier, my other boss had told me not to do it. You can see that all these examples I gave are stories about the past. The first event, going to hospital or asking for the report, were in the past, and the other action happened earlier than that. For these situations, we can also use before. My boss asked me for the report, but a week before he asked me, my other boss had told me not to do it. The word before is very often followed by a noun showing a time or event. For example, before that, before the party, before Saturday. Or before can be followed by a clause, like an activity, something that happened. Before we arrived, before it started raining, before he asked me. Here are a couple more examples of using the word before. I saw him last week at the party. Before that party, I hadn't seen him for nearly a year. She arrived with her new boyfriend, but just before they arrived, I'd seen her with another guy. We don't always use before in this way. Here are a couple more examples. Yesterday, I lost my keys. The day before, I lost my phone. Last Tuesday, she was really sick, but the week before, she was totally fine. Here's one more use, and this is very useful. You can also use earlier and before for actions you've done sometime in the past without saying exactly when you did them. For instance, we often use earlier to mean earlier today. Tom, I met him earlier. The power was off earlier, but now it's back on. And we can use before to just mean sometime in the past. I've seen her before, but I'm not sure where. He hasn't tasted sushi before. Okay, now it's your turn. Look at these example sentences. Which word do you think would be best? Ago, before, or earlier? They broke up yesterday, but 2 days that she said she wanted to marry him. But 2 days she said she wanted to marry him. Look at my new computer. I bought it 2 days and I have never seen him If you want to pause the video and think, try to answer these questions. And here are the answers. Hope you got them right. Hope you got them right. Feel free to try your own examples in the comments. Tell us about something that you did in the past. Thanks for watching and see you next time.